Welcome to some training on the CRIP process and the Trello board. CRIP is a new process, CRIP, which stands for Curriculum Review and Improvement Process. And essentially, it's a way for all programs, all departments, all schools to take a deep dive look at every one of their courses within a 3-year cycle. So a schedule will be put together. There will be certain classes that will be assigned for a fall, some more for spring, some more for summer, and so forth for that 3-year window of time. Now, the deans can stretch that out over a longer period of time, or they can shrink it down a little, depending on the number of courses involved. The idea is to make your schedule of courses to be about the same in each one of the semesters so as to not overwhelm your ID team. So the tool that we're going to use that I have on the screen right now is called Trello, TRELLO.com, gets you to the site. Those of you who are going to be involved in either reviewing material and or building courses for the CRIP process will be using Trello boards as kind of like an archive or a hosting site. There will be a board created and you will be invited. You will have to create your Trello account at the very beginning. Once you have an account, you can log in and get access to any Trello board that you've been invited to. You can see I have a whole list of boards here. I'm going to talk about two boards specifically, two different boards that you will see in your world, as well as showing you one that is from a completed class so you can see what that looks like. So I'm going to pull up a board that we're going to use, a template called the template board for CRIP courses. So what we're referring to here is a situation in which this board is used for courses that already exist, and it's going through the curriculum review and improvement process, and all of the work will be done here. The second board I'm going to show you just briefly is for a new course, and that is a course that doesn't exist. It's being created for the first time, and there's a couple of other aspects of the process and some slightly different layouts to the board. So that's why I'll show you that. So first of all, let's talk about the terminology. So there is a board, there will be a name, and it's essentially the name of the course as you saw on the previous page. ACC 1010 F to F/OL Fall 2020 or something along those lines. So that's the board. The team are the people that are assigned to this particular board. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's an additional one here. It's not showing. This is how people get invited to the board. See, we have a list of people that are on this board, and we can add people by putting their email address in here, and they will get an invitation to the board. Again, the first time they use Trello, they have to establish an account. After that, the invitation will be all they need to get to the board. Those of you that are program directors and deans, when the boards are created, we will automatically add your names to the boards. We'll automatically invite you. If you have told us who the subject matter expert or experts are, we will invite them as well. If not, if we don't have anybody listed at the time we create the board, we will make you an admin for the board, which means you're going to have this little chevron mark here. Once you have, as you can see, this member is an admin of this board. If you're an admin, you can go ahead and invite other people. So even if the board is originally set up with you, maybe a couple of other people, subject matter experts, and you decide, you know what, I would like to have this person participate as well, you can just go ahead and invite them. So we have board and we have the team. The other two terms you need to be aware of are lists and cards. Lists are these vertical sets of information. These are known as lists. You can have as many lists as you want. On each list are a number of cards. These little rectangular boxes are called cards. Every one of these cards has a set of instructions in there, explaining who's involved, as well as what specifically needs to happen. Any hints, if there are any templates or other things that you need to be aware of, that will be included. So all you have to do is just click on it in order to launch them. So the first one I'm going to launch is this one called Card Color Code Key. And you'll notice that all these cards have these various colors associated with them. That has to do with who's responsible for doing something on that particular card. So if we go look at the key, I click on it, you can see every card is going to have a description. You have some tools along the side that you may or may not use. The due date is probably something that your program director or whoever your admin of the board, it's a good idea to set your due dates, because anything that's not submitted by the final due date of when the course needs to be turned over to the ID team will not, I repeat, will not be built for that semester that it's supposed to be built for. It will be pushed off into the future. So it's very important to hit the due date. If you do not hit your due dates at the very end, whatever the final due date is for turning material over to your instructional design team, the course will not get built for the semester that you intended to be built for. You can also create checklists if there's things that you would like other people, other participants, other subject matter experts to assign to various people. You can create checklists of what those are, and I'll show you what a checklist looks like on another card. This card, again, is the color code key to identify who is responsible for what. So we can see here that the purple is for the deans and program officials. So anytime on any of those cards, if that's you, you see a purple, that means there's something that you need to be aware of. You need to read something. You may even have to do something related to that card. And everything's going to happen on that card if you're purple. If you're blue, that's the instructional design team. There's two different subgroups. There is Bob and Becky, who work with some of the colleges, and then Kelly and Mandy work with the other sets of colleges. And so we'll find out here in another card, you can identify who your instructional designers are if you are not aware of that. And then if you're a subject matter expert, your color is orange. So anytime you would see orange, that means that's something you have to do. If you are somebody who happens to be a dean or a program official, and you're also a subject matter expert for that particular course, you need to look at both purple and orange along the way. Oftentimes, the purple and orange are going to be on the same card, but very often they all have their individual cards. But if you are going to work as both, understand that you have to do both. As if this happened to be a card that you were supposed to do something, add something, the way that you would do that is in a couple of ways. As you see, I just clicked in this box, which allows you to type anything that you need to say. You can also click the paperclip here to add an attachment. So that would be how you would load something if that was what the requirement was from the card. Mention a member, this is the @ sign, and what that means is that if you wanted to alert somebody to something, let's say you just submitted something, you attached something, and you would like someone else to be aware that it's there, kind of an FYI, maybe you want them to look at it. By clicking this sign, you can actually get a list of the members of this team and identify who you want out of that group to take a look at this particular card and the item that you have placed in there. So the nice way about using this particular tool is that it's very linear in approach. You're going to start here where it says get started, and you're just going to work your way through all of the cards. So if you're orange, you're going to start here to identify, yep, I'm orange, then I'm going to go here and I'm going to go here. I don't have any more colors orange in this area. So then from here, I jump over to the spots. So you're going to go down, work over to the next list, go down, work over to the next list, go down, and so forth. That's how you're going to work your way through. Communicating with the team members, again, this talks about that @ sign that I mentioned. gives you some explanation as to how you would go about doing that. I explained that before. And because we have all three colors here, it's something that we want all three colors to be aware of. And then who is my instructional designer? If you're not sure, Bob and Becky handle the College of Business, College of Engineering and IT, the SIM, and the ADI. Now this also includes the DBA program, MBA, MSIS, and so forth in this group. For Kelly and Mandy, they are the instructional design team that handle the College of Education, Liberal Arts and Sciences, Health Sciences, Social Sciences, Nursing, and OT. So this is just for you to be aware of who your team is that's going to be working with you, because they may communicate with you at some point during the process if they're reviewing some of your material. Then again, if you're purple, that means you're a dean or program director. You would click on these cards to see what it is that you're supposed to do. Again, everything has instructions. Here's a card that is purple, which means it's for the deans and program directors. You have a description of what's supposed to happen. And then here are some things to consider. This is a checklist that you can use to check things off. If you're trying to determine, well, let's say I think we're going to need an online and an on-ground faculty, so we'll check that off. Maybe we need a program director involved. Maybe there's some outside professionals or other people. These checklists are really just there to give you some ideas, and it's something you can check off along the way just to kind of keep tabs on things, but they're just there to provide you some examples and ideas. Notice periodically we have some things that also have a paperclip associated. That just means there's some attachments here. So in this case, although we had 5 different checklist items, we have 1 attachment here, we have 2 attachments here, we have 3 attachments here, we have 7 items on the checklist here, 8 items on the checklist here, and so forth and so on. So the idea of having something, let's go up here. So I clicked on this particular card, and this is where you're going to review and approve the student learning outcomes. So this is where you get a list of what the current student learning outcomes and enabling objectives are for your course. And as part of the process, you're going to review those to see if they're appropriate or to see if there's some modifications or edits we want to make. Now you'll notice that you have some attachments down here. You actually have 3 of them. These are links directly to the Google Docs area where we have some templates that we would like you to use. The reason that we want you to use this template, even if you're going to keep things the same, even if your SLOs are going to stay exactly the same, is you're going to want to copy and paste them onto this particular document. And the reason is these have already been ADA accessible. They've already been made ADA accessible. So that means someone who's using a screen reader will have no problem navigating the document. Now you'll notice that there are 3 of these. Well, for the most part, everybody's going to use this one right here, the official SLO document underscore ADA. The other 2 have to do with some specific schools that have their own logo on the document. So this is for the SIM, they'll use this one. And if you're in the ADI, so in the Auto Services Technology or the diesel program, you'll actually use this particular link here to get to your document. Okay. So that is that card. So basically we have, this is getting started, the secondary review course material. So you're going to take a look at the SLOs. You're going to take a look at any current material in here for instruction. So what's the current textbook? What kind of library resources do you have? What about any videos that might be in the class? Supplemental articles. This is a good time to consider any OER or open educational resources, any low cost or free content maybe in place of a textbook. And so again, just a reminder, any technology, maybe you are somebody who is choosing a textbook that may have some type of virtual component, some type of a digital virtual lab set up through the publisher's website. Maybe there's simulations and so forth. So it gives you some ideas of what you can do. And if you are somebody who's interested in looking at some of those OER resources, there is a research guide that's been collated here that has a bunch of information, some good places to start for you to actually take a look at some options based on the subject. So again, this is all for reviewing what's there. We're going to review the instructional material, review current curriculum material, and again, there's a checklist of 8 different things. Review direct measures if there are any direct measures in the class. Review any indirect measures. So this would be things, and again, the checklist here, faculty evaluations, benchmarking, anything that's currently going on in the industry that may have changed from the last time this class was created or rebuilt. And then any advisory board recommendations or anything from your accrediting body, if that should happen to be something in your world. And then this last item here, academic integrity considerations. Again, we have some descriptions up here. And the idea here is that we all know that sometimes students can get access to stuff in various ways with Chegg and all kinds of different things. Maybe, test banks could be out there on the internet. So are there ways that we need to consider and think about maybe creating some of our own assignments that you can't find out on the internet? Maybe you can come up with choices of a couple of cases, and then every semester they get rotated. Maybe you can come up with a couple of different sets of final exams, and we use one for fall and we use a different one for spring, and then still another one for summer, or maybe you don't teach a class in summer or whatever. This is just to get you to think about those types of things, because we often hear from faculty who complain about it, but yet we never seem that we want to get involved in trying to come up with a plan to thwart those efforts. And so this is an opportunity just to kind of consider. Once we've done that, we move on to this next area here. And so this is where we're going to find a checklist of 6 items here, and there are 2 documents. Again, here's a good one to be aware of early on in the process. This is the curriculum deadlines for 2021. We will be updating that shortly and adding from 21 into 22 at some point down the road. But here's some ideas of things to add to this template. Again, the template is in the Google Docs area, so please use this one because it's the current, latest, and greatest version of this. And so what you're going to do here is you're going to list the items, the recommendations, and the items that you think need to be changed in this particular course. In other words, we're determining whether or not it needs to be rebuilt. Maybe it doesn't. You can get to this spot and say, you know what? We've done all this stuff here, and it looks in pretty good shape. So we think we're good for right now. You're going to have another opportunity within the next 3 years to change it up. But just so you're aware, you do not have to make any changes. Maybe the class was recently done for a new edition of the textbook, and maybe everything looks real good to the subject matter experts that are involved. So that's a possibility here. But if they decide that they're going to move forward, this is where they place their recommendations together. The deans and program directors are going to get involved with doing things like agreeing with these recommendations and giving the approval to proceed. There's a contract involved for the subject matter experts that are adjunct for this process so far. And then if approved, this is where those dates can be set by your dean or program director and anything else that they want to let you know about. So then it gets into actually the work of rebuilding the class, and that takes us to list number 4 here. Create instructional materials, learning experiences, and assessments. So again, you're going to start at the top, work your way down, pay attention to your colors. You're going to see in here, this is almost exclusively the area of where the subject matter experts are going to do all that work. This is essentially you getting, building, creating, and providing to your instructional design team everything that we're going to need to build the new version of this course. So we have a little card here on writing clear directions, and the idea is to make sure, especially if you got a class that's online and on ground, you may know exactly what you intend by certain sets of instructions. Maybe we can figure it out in instructional design. Maybe we're just going to use exactly what you've placed together because we're not an expert in a subject. And if you say that this is the proper instruction, well, then it's the proper instruction. However, you need to consider for somebody who's not involved in this board, are they going to be able to figure it out? Is a student going to be able to figure it out? If you have an online and an on-ground version, do you need to have a separate set of instructions for that? So just some things to consider here. The CRIP course change summary detail all the changes needed for the course builder. So this is where we have a sample completed form here so you can see what it looks like, and then here's a template that you're going to fill out and provide. You'll actually attach it right here, as we talked about before, when you're done. And basically, it's kind of a summary of all the things that are going to change in the class. So that way, we know exactly what's going to happen. If there's nothing that's talked about in the course change form, we're going to leave it alone. So if you don't want the videos that are in the current class to stay in the current class, you have to tell us remove all videos or replace all videos with this list of videos or what have you. You have to be very descriptive in what you want. We're not going to touch stuff that you don't talk about. Then there's the approved student learning outcomes. You know, all the three colors are here again. So this is the same ones from here. Once you locked and loaded them, they're going to get transferred over here. And remember, it's the same form. Make sure you're using the proper form. As it relates to proper form, here's where you're going to provide to us the resource assignment chart, the assignment summary, and the learning outcome assignment alignment table. And it says here, remember, you're going to give us 6 of them. In other words, 2 of each if you have an online and an on-ground version of the particular course. Once again, all of the accessible course documents that are continually updated are in this Google Drive folder. Make sure you use these. Do not take the ones from this review area over here and just edit them or modify them. They will not be accepted, will be sent back to you. They have to be on the proper template, so make sure you do that. Again, if you're a subject matter expert, it's possible that your program director may have some due dates for all these particular cards and so forth. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But so that's a good idea to pay attention to. We're going to actually encourage them to do that because it helps keep you on task and making sure that you'll get everything done on time so that we can get the course built and have it ready for you in the semester that you plan on teaching the course. So there's where you'll put those updated documents. Here's the updated assignment instructions. Now there's 2 cards for this. One of them has to do with the approximate 700 required common assessments. In other words, assignments that are going to be done both in the online and the on-ground version. If you just have an online version, you'll use this as well as this because online versions get built out to 1,000 points. If you have a face-to-face version of the class, you will not have anything in here. We'll just use this area here, and this is where you're going to place your instructions. And again, we have checklists for things that you need to consider to put in here. Unit check is our Canvas's version of Turnitin.com. It's an originality or a plagiarism detector tool. And all you have to do here is let us know whether or not, what assignments do you want us to turn the tool on. You don't have to do anything about it. We're going to handle it in the course build. You're just going to let us know whether or not assignments need to have the unit check tool turned on. So generally think about writing assignments. If you got a case study at the end of each week, if you got a major paper, those would be examples of things that you should have unit check turned on. Rubrics in the class. I'll open this one up to show you. There's a sample ADA rubric that you can use as the document that you again build and send to us. Here's some point ranges of this particular rubric. So depending on how many points each one of your criteria in your rows are, you can kind of identify how we're going to be breaking down the points. This is the new point range and the new column headings for Baker College. Instructor resources. Again, a list of various things that we can place in here. I do want to point out, be real careful about including PowerPoints. Let's make sure it's not just busy work. It is absolutely something that students are going to be required and it's going to be valuable for them to access. Just placing them in there because we've done it in the past or because they're available on the publisher's website is not the way to go. And that is because most PowerPoints are not ADA accessible, and the amount of time it takes for the instructional design team to do this is frankly not worth it. I had a colleague who took 3 weeks, 8 hours a day, every single day for 3 weeks to make the PowerPoints accessible. And then here's what can be the problem, is we might only be using this class for 2 years, and then you're going to go to something else. and all that work goes away. We have to start all the way over. So just something to consider. Make sure that we absolutely have to use those PowerPoints in the class. I will tell you that currently right now, McGraw-Hill is the only publisher on a regular basis that has accessible ADA approved PowerPoints that are already on the website. So make sure you grab those if you're doing a McGraw-Hill course. But again, make sure those PowerPoints are going to really be required if you're going to throw them in here. So again, just some ideas of some things that goes into this particular area. And then lastly, direct measures. And again, that's if you identified that there was a direct measure in a class. Are you still going to have a direct measure? Is it the same thing? Or maybe there wasn't a direct measure in the class before, but based on talking to the program director, deans, and those types of things, it's decided that there needs to be a direct measure in this class. Understand that if there's a direct measure that's different from this one, the dean or program director is going to have to approve it before we build it. All right, takes us to the last card. I'm sorry, the last list with the last 4 cards. And this is basically the final steps. So there's final dean approval. And they're letting us know, the ID team, that we're ready to build. There's going to be a contract for this second part. Remember, there was a contract on the front end that talked about if there's actually going to right here. If you've decided that we're moving forward with a build, there's going to be a contract for this previous work. And then over here, it's from this time to the end of building, there's going to be another contract that's issued if there was actually a build that took place. What will happen then is once the instructional design team gets built, the course, or courses in the case of both an online and on-ground version, we fill out a spreadsheet, and there's someone from our team that once a month will send out an email. And it's usually the Monday after the 3rd Saturday of every month. So the 3rd Saturday of every month, Canvas does a refresh on the test server. So we give you access to the test server so you can go in and take a look at the work that we did to rebuild the class and check it out to see if we got everything, see if it looks the way you intended it to look. Or maybe you look at it and go, you know, boy, that sure didn't work the way I thought. Let me come up with a correction for that. So we try to get these to you so that you have an opportunity to do that. Depending on how long it takes you to build the class, this may not be an option for you. But where the 3 weeks comes into place is at that 3-week mark, everything gets reset to what the current version is in the class. And so you will get access to the class. You'll be notified that the class was completed within this monthly cycle between that 3rd Saturday of last month and the 3rd Saturday of this month. If we were able to build any of those CRIP classes, you're going to get alerted to that fact on the Monday after that. So if like last Saturday was the refresh date, this Monday would be then the date that you'll get that email. They usually send it out on Monday, depending on if it's a holiday or whatever, it may be a Tuesday, but you'll get it very early. That gives you some time to kind of go in and take a look and identify if there are any issues that we can do something about. Now, everything kind of depends on the timing. If there are some issues and we can get them done before courses copy, then that's fine. If not, we might be limited in what you can do. We might be limited on your ability to see things because of when you get it completed and when we get it built. If you get it completed and we got it built on Friday and Sunday classes load, there won't be any opportunity for you to do a review. But we just want to let you know that there is a possibility here for a review to happen on your end. So that's pretty much the CRIP board for classes that already exist. I'm going to real quickly pull up a board just to show you the differences. I'm going to go down to my other template. And this is the template board for new courses. Now notice it's a little bit smaller. Right off the bat, going to let you know about some things that are exactly the same. This one is exactly the same. This one is exactly the same. And this one is exactly the same. So really the only difference is we've got rid of the second board, or I'm sorry, list, and the third list, essentially, we've kind of pulled them out. And the reason that we've done that is, again, this is for a new course. So what's one thing we don't need? We don't need that list that talks about reviewing all the current materials in the class. So that has been eliminated. And rather than reviewing the current SLOs to see whether or not they're still appropriate based on some things that you might be thinking about for the changes, again, you don't have to look at the old ones because the old ones don't exist. Again, a brand new course. So here you can see we got those same areas. If you're working on a sim course, you're going to use this one. If you're working on an ADI, you're going to use this one. And if you're working on anything else, which is going to be most of you, you're going to be going to this Google Drive area and pulling up this official SLO document _ ADA in order to build your student learning outcomes. Now, if you are working with a brand new course that doesn't exist, you need to work with your instructional design team, specifically early on in this process. They need to work with you with the UBD or Understanding by Design um, plan that we have here as an institution, so that we can help you craft your SLOs and EOs and start discussions with the types of assessments that would provide evidence that students have learned that material, and so they can identify what do students need to know and do in this particular course. Other than that, everything else is the same on all of the other lists. So I do want to show you one more thing before I wrap this up. And I'm going to go into a class that's already completed. So again, here's the board. Here's the team. Notice you have 3 people here that were identified as admins. And notice that in areas where there was checklists, like in this particular case, we got 3 out of 3, we have 12 out of 12, 6 out of 6. You can see that there's various attachments along the way. We got some 7 attachments here, 3 attachments here, and so forth. Also notice that we have some approvals, we have some dates here, and the good thing is, think about it from a stoplight. Notice these colors are green. If they're green, that means they're turned in on time. And if they're not green, if they're red, that means they're missing. And so this is a good way for deans and program directors to take a quick peek, maybe on a Friday, 3:30 or whatever. Don't want to start a new project every week. You can just go into all of the boards that are being used in this particular for the next semester build. And you can just eyeball it real quick and see if where are you at. Have you had people that are hitting your deadlines? If you have a deadline coming up, and maybe go look to see if this deadline's coming up, maybe I go look to see if they got it done. Maybe that deadline's tomorrow, that type of a thing. So again, take advantage of those deadlines. Now, if you're a subject matter expert, this also allows you to see where are you at, if you're on track. If you start getting behind early on, make sure you communicate with your program director or dean, because maybe they can get you some additional help, or maybe it's one of these things where you say, you know what, this is way too much work. We might need to hold off and get this done for the following semester rather than the semester coming up. So again, the board looks relatively simple and similar to what we've done before. Click on this. You can see that it was completed this particular day at this time and so forth. Again, this is how you would pick due dates if you are somebody who's the program director or dean. And so this was actually picked that it was going to be 12/11 noon, and it was actually marked as completed. Looks like it was done down here on December 4th. You can also, if you're that dean or program director in establishing those dates, you also have the ability to set the reminder. You can set it, the default is 1 day before. You can make it 2 days before. I wouldn't change it other than the 1 or 2 days, so making it an hour before I don't think is really helpful. You can remove them obviously, but if you make a change here, you want to definitely come down and hit save. Again, the default is 1 day before. And so oftentimes that alert can be very helpful for that subject matter expert as a reminder. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. This is the CRIP process, Curriculum Review and Improvement process, and the Trello board that is kind of a project management workflow tool. And hopefully this was helpful for you. Um, Talk to your deans, program directors, and your instructional design team if you need any additional help. Thanks.